Yes, welcome once again. We did a quick intro for all the folks who entered early, but now we are at the hour, and we want to welcome all of you to this Ask Us Anything with Author Nation, with some of the biggest names in publishing right here with us, right here in this live stream.
Oh
We
yeah,
can't
on
see
the live
them;
stream, not us, not
they're
us.
ducked under the desks, but they
I was
are
going to
they
say,
are
are
here.
they in the room with us, Kevin? Are they here?
Yes, are they here with us now? We did intros early. Let's do this again. We got with us Joe Solari, who is the what did we decide you were? The big cheese, or are you the high muckety mug?
I'm
We got to
just
work on
yeah, just the guy.
the guy in charge, the
You
guy in
got
the
a guy,
chair.
and I'm that guy.
Got a guy in Joe, and we
Yep.
have Shell Honecker, who's with Indie Author, or yes, Indie Author Magazine. My brain won't let
Mhm.
me say it right. Okay, and also just running the show here, all the behind the scenes stuff happening with Shell in tow. Thank you for that. Am I getting better with the branding? We got to come up with like the encapsulate who you are in three words or
Somebody
less.
suggested T-shirts. I think that would be good. We'll get some T-shirts made.
T-shirts.
Yeah.
We have with us, joined us right as we were starting, Natalia Hernandez, who is in Guatemala of all places. Natalia, thank you for taking the time to join us, chat with us.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you.
And behind the scenes, everybody, the one that you really want to kiss up to and please is Isabella Lissack, who's going to be taking moderating questions and putting those on the air. So rolling into it, Author Nation has become a big topic lately. I'm getting a lot of people pinging us about the podcast. I think they're forgetting that, though, in November, there will be the actual event, November 11th through 15th, 2024. Right there in Vegas will be the Author Nation conference. Do we want to talk a bit about what's coming up for that, Joe?
Sure. So a couple announcements just to kind of clarify stuff, and we had talked about the early bird tickets ending at the end of this month. We're kicking that out to the end of March because of conversations Shell's had with me around the committee. How many submissions have you had for?
We had over 200 submissions. Yeah, we have well over 200 submissions at this point, which is exciting. Like, I'm thrilled.
Yeah.
But we want to do a careful job and be sure that we aren't cutting things off too soon. So
Right. And so we want to give people some time to decide with good information, right? So hey, at least get our first round of speakers announced so that people can say, oh yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And then also for us, we've got this process we're working on with our how we're doing our notebook and our programming, and we're going to actually have a program, how we're pulling this all together into a cohesive learning system. So we want to get that information, at least in its first draft, out to everyone so they understand the value that we're creating in this whole thing. So for like, I know for Shell and I and Talia, I don't know, you're probably starting to feel the pressure too. Like there's like, it's coming, like, it's like, we're very busy behind the scenes making things happen.
yeah.
So I think that's one important announcement. The other thing, and this is going to be an announcement that nobody else on this except me knows. This is going to be our last Ask Me Anything call.
Oh,
Because we're going to switch to a whole different format where we are going to be creating meetups, virtual meetups based on cities. So the idea is, and this is something Jessica Barney, who's in charge of dealing with guest coordination and taking over from Cliff at the old show to help with making sure that everyone has a really kind of easy experience coming into the show. One of the things that when she pitched the idea of her taking that job on was to start early and helping people find their authors that are local. Okay. So we'll start picking off major cities and having similar kind of webinars, but make it focused about the people being there should be, like, hey, we're doing New York City, or hey, we're doing Houston, so that we can help you find people that are local, because that's part of the nation, right? It's something that I think for those of us that have been on the podcast, when you can start to find your local tribe, that's helpful. Like, you can maybe start doing some of the things you need to do as an author locally, but more importantly, knowing that when you get to Las Vegas, if it's your first time to a show like this or your first time in Vegas, there's going to be some familiar faces, and there's some people that you can kind of maybe plan to travel with or whatever it might be. So
I love that idea, except that Kevin's local to me, so I don't love that idea at the same
time. I'm not saying that
I have. I am also local to me.
we may have a draft restraining order that you can issue.
We need something.
This does play in well, though, with the whole theme, which is we're an author nation, right? So we're going city to city across the country. Maybe you'll have to rebrand those someday to Author World so that we can include Guatemala and other places.
That's right.
Well, so this is an important point. This is something that I need help with. Is if we are going to hit the top 20 cities in North America, that means we need to tap into Spanish speakers that can help us bring the community from, Guadalajara and Mexico City and places like that, where maybe they're not necessarily planning on traveling to the show, but that doesn't mean we can't get them involved in the community and start to think about how they can, start to develop their own support network there. Because I think for all of us that have been to the show, that's what we're really trying to, that's the drug we want to stay on, right? Is that support that you have when you're around your tribe and you're talking shop and you're getting inspired about ideas. I think if we can do that in some more ways and maybe some less intense ways, right? I just came from social media marketing world. Sue's got Concrud. She's and I was like, it took me 2 days to like get back to normal, because you're just absorbing so much knowledge and you don't realize how much energy that takes to be thinking, right? And interacting. So
I think that's such a wonderful idea. For me, I think community has been one of the most invaluable things in my author journey. But also going to cons and realizing how many introverted authors there are. Like, I have far too much extroversion and far too much confidence for any one mortal being. But the majority of people don't go up to people and just say hi, I saw a lot of that last year. But I think that if you can get smaller communities to find each other before, then it just makes the entire experience so much more pleasant and less anxiety inducing.
Right. Yeah. Because you're showing up there with people like you a lot of times when we come to these conferences, especially the big ones, and it's like we're in a sea of strange faces, no one we've ever met, except for the only people we recognize are the people on stage, and it's hard to get close to them, right? So you come in with these groups, and now these 5 people, and if you don't hang out with anybody else, you at least got to spend time with them. Hopefully, there's an extrovert in the group like you.
Well, like Natalia, I saw this morning you were doing writing sprints on Instagram.
That's right. And that is someone who is fairly local to when I'm home in Florida with my family, then she's up in Orlando. And so we're on the same time zone. We schedule that several times a week. And we have other people within the community of Florida, actually, that can do that together. And it helps so much because you have someone to keep you accountable. And so I think if we can start facilitating making those groups across the nation, like how cool is that? How cool are we?
Yeah, exactly.
Well, and Shell, I think the whole thing you did with the Coronitas and that whole talk a little bit about that and how that came out of a conference.
So there's a group of us that went to 20 Books in Edinburgh in 2019, and I sat down in Nora Roberts' room. She was running writing sprints next to Mary Mayweather, and met, my tribe, my best friends. That's who I talked to. In fact, we rolled off of a book club that we have every Saturday to come to this call because we still chat. There's 24 of us. We connected. We then went to SPS in London. We went back to Vegas. And we've stayed connected through the entire pandemic. And that's actually how Indie Author Magazine was born, was we were meeting twice a day on sprints, chit-chatting and connecting. And we've just hung together. We've published together. We've written together. We've done anthologies together. We've done charity projects together. Like I get up every day and get to play with my best friends as a job. Like that's my job, is to get up and play with my best friends every day. And it was all because we met at 20 Books in Edinburgh. And we talk a little bit about, on the podcast, we talked about the magic and the alchemy, and there's several questions in here that I hope that I kind of hit some of this. One of the things that was unique about 20 Books in Vegas was its spirit of generosity and the spirit of connectedness and the spirit of each one reach one. And I think that was done with great intentionality because there's a lot of us that are introverts and there's a lot of us that are neurospicy and we don't have an easy time making connections. And that was done with intentionality, and we will continue to carry that through. So you will have people that you can go to, and having some of these groups. And one of the questions in there is, will they be international? Absolutely. Absolutely international. There's no question about it. Canada and the rest of the international. I think it's going to take some intentionality on people stepping up and offering to organize and be part of it. And we might need, kind of a little Pied Piper to step up and say, hey, I'm in Canada and I want to do this. But yeah, I think that's a big, big part of the thread of who we've always been, because we are a community. And now we're just trying to, help people stay connected in the macro and the micro level.
Yeah. And to that point, if you just look at the top 20 cities in North America, you kind of know the list we're going to hit. Right. And so, if we're doing it purely on metro area, Mexico City is number one. Right. So how do we do that in the right way? That probably will take us a little bit, because it is technically international and there's going to be some language issues that we want to make sure that we address appropriately. But, Toronto, I'm seeing some of the questions, when I look at it, I just think about how do we get the most people covered? So New York City, Chicago, Dallas, Houston, these are all cities that are by population ones we would want to focus on, as well as making sure that we're doing a good job covering geographically, right? When you get into the mid-continent, everyone kind of throws the whole mid-continent as, say, Denver. Well, that's probably not appropriate. There's a really strong author community in Boise, and there's some cities that we may get folks that are already in the community that want to step up and say, well, how can I do that in our group? And that's the whole idea, is this isn't just us getting all these things in place. We want it to be yours. So if you guys decide that you want to turn this into writing sprints, who are we to say, right? Like,
yeah.
So why don't we start hitting some of these questions that people have, and and inviting some folks up and not listen to us yammer on.
I think that maybe the best place to start is we had a question or two about like how Author Nation differs from 20 Books Vegas. So maybe we can start with that one.
Well, they're spelled entirely different. That's the first.
So on a technical aspect, there is no 20 Books Vegas anymore. Michael and Craig have chosen to no longer do that show. And was left over from that was the contracts that Craig had signed. And so we have taken those contracts and created an entirely new show. Now, we are, all of us here, influenced by the experience we've had at 20 Books. So we're trying to keep that community piece. But what is very, very different is our core mission, and that our focus is on you finding your best life through writing. This isn't about you making 7 figures or us just celebrating people that make a lot of money. This comes out of stuff we've talked about on the podcast, that not everybody's version of success is just about making money. And a lot of people that have gone on that particular journey, when they got to that number goal, weren't really happy. And so I'm coming at it from the view of like, well, how do we create this environment where you can be inspired by different types of success and find ways to kind of figure out your journey and know that there's other people that are probably not on the exact same path, but a similar path. You guys got anything to add to that?
Yeah, I think just in terms of programming, which is what I'm in charge of, we're going to be doing some more tech-centric sessions so that you can actually do some hands-on learning as opposed to just academic and trying to cram it in your brain and then trying to figure it out when you get back up to your room what you just learned. We'll have some more sessions that are directly from some of the suppliers. We'll do some product tours so you can get to know them so that you're not crushed on Monday at the vendor day. You're going to be able to sort of interact with them in a much more organic and easy way so that you can come away with stuff. We've put out a call for speakers as opposed to just sort of deciding what the tracks were. We're just too large to sort of miss some of our folks within the broadest spectrum of the community. So we have a huge call for speakers now, and we're getting the most amazing, like interesting titled sessions and just the logistics of that. I'm just really excited about that. We also have a little bit of a different vibe in terms of we'll have conversation pits and places where you can kind of sit and hang out and talk to folks and have a little more intentionality with conversation. So again, just in terms of the differences, the spirit of generosity, the tribe mentality, the, help people mentality, that's not going to change. We're just tweaking some of the things to make it more modern and more reflective of our community.
One of the things I'm really starting to appreciate is that idea that you mentioned, Joe, that we've spent an awful lot of time focusing entirely on the financial side of this business as being our metric of success. To shift now to an idea of defining your success for yourself instead of relying on this outside number that's kind of been foisted upon everybody. Defining what success means, if that includes money, great. But there's some people out there who just I'm one of these. Like I wrote for most of my career without making a dime or without making very many dimes. So this idea of shifting how we see success and shifting how we see these careers, that's more than just the conference. That's kind of the overall movement. So that's what I think is a key difference.
It is. It's really embracing, like what we've done at the magazine is we don't look at indie as self-published. We look at indie as the spirit of taking charge of your career and defining success for yourself.
I like that. I'm stealing that.
Yeah.
I think also there was a question or more of a comment saying that how Facebook is so wonderful and there's so much great information on there. But what are we going to do outside of that socially? And I think another great change that I've been seeing is Isabella bringing us into the social world in a much stronger and more defined way. And I've just been really. Ooh, did I freeze?
Yeah, you did.
Just briefly. Just briefly.
Which the Matrix.
Did I have a really bad face?
No.
No. It's quite inviting.
Liar.
Right.
Yeah. And I think that, this is all stuff here's the other thing that I think that, for those of you that are interested in how I'm thinking about marketing into the 21st century and facing all the turmoil, like this show is a giant meta experiment on how to do that, right? Because if you've followed any of the stuff that I've ever talked about, you've got your intellectual property, you've got these wonderful stories you tell, but without an audience, they're useless. Like it's just, you're daydreaming, right? It's even if your plan isn't to make money off of that, you want to interact with an audience, right? It's a part of it. Like, so if that's your deal, like how do you find that audience that values that work, that it resonates with, however big that is? Well, this is what we're doing, right? It's just the show is the intellectual property and the community is the author community, and then the adjacent reader community. So like this gets back to that bigger question, like what's the other thing that's different about this from the previous show? We're going to be very focused on how we can create the biggest multi-genre reader event on the planet. Right. So if you want to go find your readers, this is going to be the place you're going to want to be, and come to Rave and connect with those people. And again, with this whole meta experience, we're going to help you be, if you choose to follow, hey, live selling is something I want to do. We're going to help you get there. We're going to teach you how to do that, because we have people in our community that are really, really good at it. So those are the things that, like, from the team and that's the other thing is that we have a very big team, very diverse team that's bringing a lot of different viewpoints to this. And it's like, oh, that's actually pretty cool. I think we can do that.
Yeah. Let's
on that. Hey, Kevin,
ahead,
on the heels of that, let me answer two questions. There's one from Matthew that says, do you see this conference expanding beyond authors to other creators like YouTube podcasters and streamers? One of the tracks we have is called Transmedia, and we are talking about how to create content for YouTube and podcasting and streaming. It might not necessarily be in the sense of strictly content creation. It's going to be you using your own intellectual property, but we have folks like Jonathan Yanez who does short films, right? We do have a lot of podcast folks that are coming. So yes, definitely for that. And then one of the other questions is, in the craft sessions, can you please try to get a panel for how to make your books more diverse and inclusive, please? You know what? Absolutely. And that's why we did the call for speakers, was because we wanted people in communities that are traditionally perhaps marginalized or haven't been, included in the past, because we were small, right? Not because of anything that we did wrong, but because we're bigger and now we have the opportunity to do that. So we have 13 committee members. And if you go to programming.authournation.live, you can see the committee that's there, and you can see they're reaching out to be sure that we're seeing ways that we can make those chat talks, conference, fireside chats, all of those are going to be geared towards what the community's been asking for. So we're excited about that.
Yeah. And
go ahead,
just to, we are going to see some more programming coming in that is focused on narrators and that whole creator process there. I think that's another community where authors and narrators are can build some strong relationships, but also there's a lot of things that we're good at teaching that narrators can learn. And Sound Booth Theater, who's signing on to be a pretty significant sponsor for us, what they want to do with their time at the show is use it to help teach narrators how they became what they are. And so we also have to pick our battles here. We envision in the future wider tracks, but we also have to be like, okay, what can we do? And what for us on the committee seems like we've got like 15 more minutes to get everything programmed and done.
Yeah.
One other thing is for those that are like more content creators that are thinking like, well, I do write, but I'm also there's the CEX show in Cleveland that we're actually sponsoring the publishing track. And we're going to have a team out there at that show. And we're going to be doing some podcasts. So we're going to these kind of events to cross pollinate and start to bring people in from those communities into ours. I mean, Shell's been doing this for a while, and I was just out at Social Media Marketing World, and we're there to scout speakers. We're trying to bring people in that are from outside of our little bubble that are going to teach you the same stuff over and over so that you can be inspired.
Yeah. One of the things I wanted to point out regarding like bringing in content creators and other people from different tangential industries, that's how this whole business really grew. Was there was a sort of leeching or imitation of the sort of internet entrepreneur set when we all started building this whole thing. And that's how we learned to do these things. That's how we learned marketing. That's how we learned about, email marketing and marketing funnels, and all those things came from that world. The same opportunity is now open for looking at this content creator community on YouTube and elsewhere and borrowing some concepts from them, learning and then taking it, making it our own. So big deal to have these people participate in the conference. What other questions do we got popping up?
Do we want to go over, we have 4 different ticket options, the differences between those, what the digital visa will look like, why there's a ticket that's $100 extra, like what that includes. Yeah.
Sure. So let me address all that. So here's some other things that are different about the show. So we have a digital ticket, not a live streaming ticket. Not to say we won't eventually go back to streaming, but was obvious from my analysis of how the previous show was run is that needs its own staff. You can't make a staff that's running a 2,000 person show also run a 600 person virtual event at the same time with dodgy technology. It's just not a good idea. Like, it just makes people have migraines. So, and the staff asked me, please don't make us do that again. So I'm prepared to take the heat on that one. I know it is, going to hurt a lot of people's experience, but what we think we're going to have is a really great alternative. And that is, we'll have the recorded sessions, and then we will have separate virtual follow-up sessions, what we're calling our after party, to supplement those sessions, which gives live attendees, as well as those that don't attend, the opportunity to maybe go watch some of those sessions that they missed if they were live, or just have the time to catch up on all the sessions, and then time to digest the information, maybe even apply a little bit of it, and then answer questions or get their questions answered by that person that was the speaker at a later event. Right? That would be virtual, something like this. So the idea is for us to really, and this comes out of a lot of Shell's experiences, how can we make this really organic learning system to help people? So that's the digital ticket. Then we have the live event, the general admission, which covers Monday through Friday. That gets you into the Industry Expo, the Author Education Days, Tuesday through Thursday, and it gets you access to Rave as an attendee. You don't get a table, you just can go into Rave and walk around. Now, one of the big things that we're changing is we've got Kevin Smith, who is coming on Thursday evening as a speaker. And while he really embodies what Shell talked about early, this kind of rebel indie spirit going into a lot of different media, he's also there to attract an audience for Rave, right? How do I help you guys get more readers to show up for this? We need to have named entertainment that will come and fill that place up. So we're having him come and do that. Now, with that event, we're going to take a section of the seating for that event, and we're going to prioritize it so that I think it worked out to be the first 12 rows of the main 2 sections. So it's about 320 seats, but you can pay extra to sit there. Okay. That gets you closer to the stage, closer to the event. That allows authors who are really big Kevin Smith fans to get seats there. But also remember that Thursday evening, we're opening up that event to readers. So there are readers that are going to pay extra to sit in those front rows because they are such big Kevin Smith fans. They are going to want to be as close to the stage as they possibly can. Now, why would I do that? Am I trying to create a hierarchy so you feel bad? No. I'm trying to get a signal for you of who are the people that are prepared to pay the most. Because somebody that wants to come to the Rave event that is a Kevin Smith fan that is prepared to pay, several $100s for a ticket, we can use that to find more people like that. And if that's your audience, you can then use that to sell them more stuff, right? So I'm always looking for how we can use these things as a way to identify the best possible customer. Because, when you think about how grueling a live event can be, why do certain authors do this? Well, if you have somebody who's prepared to pay hundreds of dollars just for a ticket to go to a live event, and then a hotel room and airfare and extra luggage costs because they're going to buy thousands of dollars of books there to have signed, that for me is the customer I want more of. I want more of them because I don't have to have as many of them. And the more data that I can have by one-to-one relationship, the easier it is for me to build my business off of that. So I hope that we can start thinking about this, not so much about what I personally can afford and why can't I sit in the front rows. It's about how we're using these tools to help authors to do two things, tap into the audience that we're creating at these different levels and learn how to use these methodologies themselves to differentiate their customers. So there's your little marketing tip for the day. Did that answer the question?
And yeah, I think, Joe, let's also make sure that people know that is not to the detriment of anybody that has any special needs. There will always be accommodations for anybody that has special needs. So let's maybe address that just a bit too.
Yeah, sure. Are we going to get everything right? No.
I mean, I am. I don't know about you. I'm getting everything.
Well,
right.
anything that goes wrong,
buddy.
Everything that goes wrong, please blame on me. It's my responsibility. We'll remedy the situation. And this I think is what hopefully people are taking away from what we're trying to do with Author Nation is like, if you feel that you've been underrepresented, if you feel that we're not doing things right, then step up. Don't just bitch about it though. Come with the solution. Like we can implement it. That's the thing that aggravates me personally is when people are just saying, well, this is what's wrong, but they never step up and say, but let me fix it. Here's how we fix it. This is what we have to do. Right. Because
just as an aside, I've seen that. Like we have had some things where we've got, wish we'd done that better. We'll pivot. We'll fix it.
Yeah.
Fast. We'll, if we can, we will. That's just that's the bottom line. We are of the community. So it's not like we're, trying to make it uncomfortable or hard for everybody. We're going to make it better and amazing for everybody. So bring a suggestion and be willing to jump in and help, like Joe said, for sure.
Right. And that's our thing is like, as we see these things, we want to implement this stuff. We're trying to make this thing as open as possible. We're talking about like, how do we deal with people that English is their second language that may be interested in this? English is not as my first language and I'm not very good at it. So like, I can't help people with but come on board and help do this. Like we can make this thing bigger and better than anything's ever been before. Will we maybe have to make some choices? Right. We've already faced this. It's like, man, that is an awesome idea. That's a 2025 idea. It's not a 2024 idea because we have to get this thing running right first.
That's a core concept of a community is, you are there to grow and you're there to help others grow. And one of the ideas behind that is instead of getting offended and getting, outraged that it didn't include X, Y, or Z, you're bringing it to everyone's attention so that we can improve the community. Like that's the whole point, right? So we improve as we go. So I think we have a community that is kind of wired towards that. I think most authors that I've ever worked with are okay with that idea that we're all in this together. We're going to help each other grow. What do we got for more? Oh, go ahead, Shell.
Sorry, I was going to say there's a couple of housekeeping questions. So if you can't see the questions that we're answering, if you go to the Q&A button on Zoom, you should be able to click that and see the Q&A. As we answer them, we're moving them over to either the answered or the dismissed. So Isabella is answering questions by typing out the answers. And if we're hitting on them in what we're saying, then we're moving them over to dismissed. I don't like the word dismiss. That seems very rude, but it's just deferred. It's just over there. It's in a different section. So if you've got questions, be sure and type them in. We've got like 25 minutes, guys, and we've got like 46 questions. So
3 hours of questions to answer.
I'm in it to win it. I'll stay.
Do you want to talk a little bit about Rave, how Rave is going to differ this year, when authors should expect to know whether they'll be having a table at Rave?
Sure. So let's address that. How Rave is going to be different is Rave is going to go start Thursday evening, where we're going to open up to readers and let them in. And part of this whole ticket thing that we brought up before is we're managing that main event center, because if we get this thing working right, we should sell out that room. It might not all be authors. There should, I would love it to be a 50-50 split if we can do that. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So it then is going to roll through. It's going to have the signing, and there's also going to be separate sessions. Mandy Stevens is planning all of that out. There's going to be varied tickets for readers. We are going to do a system where for authors that are trying to get their community there, there's going to be a way for them to get their community there at the general admission level, essentially for free. So we'll give you couponing so that as you invite your readers, your reader will get to decide how they want to differentiate themselves. Like they may want to go the full Monty and attend a VIP session, and we don't know the exact specifics of it, what it's going to be, but we now have space in the Versailles room for Friday evening, where we're going to have a reader author party that we're planning. So that will be a separate ticketed event. So there's going to be different ways for readers to participate with their favorite authors and for them to build their community, because that's the secret evil plan here is if we wrap around our community a bigger, enthusiastic reader community that gets to touch their favorite authors, we're going to always be as close as we possibly can be with the source of the money, right? What else am I missing, Shell? You know a lot of the details of this. And
in terms of Rave,
yeah.
I think we've reached out to some trad authors. I think we haven't really spoken about that as much, where we're trying to bring them in so that they bring their people in. The other big deal is that we have the block of rooms is so heavily discounted that we're looking at trying to put together packages for readers to come in from out of town so that they can experience Vegas and have a discounted rate and be able to hang out in Vegas. So it's more of a destination as opposed to anything else. I'm answering questions too. So if I,
two things you made me think about is, we're the other big thing about Rave that's different is we're actively marketing to bring readers in. Like we're that's a responsibility that we feel is it's our job, and we're taking, with the show changing its vision and we're bringing in sponsors. Well, what are we doing with that money? Is that all going to Joe and Sue's? No, we're investing that in bringing in a community and building this. I'm doing your marketing for you, right? The second piece, we'll announce this probably in the podcast that we do in May, but we're going to have a massive announcement about how we're going to manage Rave and how we're going to be dealing with book sales at the event. It's going to be industry changing. The reason I can't get into the specifics at this point is because there's a technology piece that we're in the process of developing and testing. Okay. But it's big. And that's the other reason why things with Rave are being pushed back, because we want to have that in place so that we bring the readers there and they have that entire experience that way. So it's not that that's Rave is an afterthought. It's the exact opposite. It's that there's a lot of things we're getting put in place.
Do you know how hard it is for me to sit on my hands knowing what I know about some things? Like,
don't say
I'm
a
the
word.
worst keeper ever. I couldn't even keep the gender of my grandchild secret. Like, it's the worst. So,
you did a good job with the Kevin Smith thing.
I did. I deserve a lot of props for that, y'all.
Yeah, Joe revealed it to me way before you did.
Shell, could you explain a little bit about the different programming tracks in terms of authors who are earlier in their careers versus more experienced, and also how sessions will be a little bit different this year in terms of, like, we're reducing sessions so there's more networking time and downtime in between?
For sure. So the tracks we have basically, we have self-identify, right? And tell us where you are in your author journey. We've kind of made some generalizations. So we have what are called pre-published authors, those folks that haven't yet published a book. And then we have kind of our mid list where they're emerging. They've maybe published, but now they want to make more money, or they want to start thinking about how they can expand backlists and make more money on things. And then we've got our, more experienced folks that are maybe looking to go into transmedia stuff, such as audiobooks or serials or, videos, or, there's all kinds of ways you can make money in this industry now. So we've generally said that when the talks are crafted, we want the speakers to kind of hit those areas. And some of them might cross over, right? And you don't have to say, you don't have to identify as that thing, right? You might be pre-published, but you might know a lot about marketing. So when we have our different tracks of the talks, which will include craft, advertising, marketing. I never get all these right, so you guys are going to have to help me. Transmedia, finance, productivity, and strategy. So there's like different tracks that all of the talks are formed at. So there will be
mindset and wellness too.
Yes, health and wellness. Oh my gosh, my favorite one.
See, somebody's reading the emails.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you.
She'll be expected to keep all that information in her head at all times.
I can barely keep anything. I haven't had enough coffee. I'm pre-caffeinated, right? So that's the toughest part. But all of the talks will also have objectives that people will come away with. So you'll know when you look at the schedule that we'll craft, whether that talk is for you or not, right? So you'll be able to self-select and figure out which one is for you. We're also working with Jamie Davis and Jen B. Green to talk about how we have more space between the sessions. We are looking at about 30 minutes between sessions, but we have a lot of sessions. We have so many great sessions. So we're still trying to craft and see how that works. Someone also asked about the seating. We'll have conversation pits where you actually have couches where you can sit down and hang out and talk to folks between. And that's Sue's Solari's like forte. She's going to make this a beautiful, comfortable event where people can kind of hang out and connect and talk and chat. So there's lots of differences in just the vibe of it, but also with the very intentional ways that we're choosing the talks so that they are hitting all of the different ranges where people are at. I know a lot of folks, we haven't talked a lot about craft in the past. This time we are going to talk about craft. We're going to talk about creating characters. We're going to talk about how to make them more diverse, how to respect and write the other. We're going to have lots of different ways that you'll be able to connect. I think there will be something for everyone. And we're also going to hopefully have a tool that will let you kind of navigate all the different possibilities and options. We also talked a little bit about the fact that in the past, people felt very overwhelmed by the show. And so we're taking that into account. We might repeat some sessions because people don't want to choose between two sessions and they don't want to wait for the after party to see that. So we're really looking at how we can best craft this, and it's all coming from the perspective of the Committee of 13. No secret that that's Taylor Swift's favorite number, by the way, just saying, that we have that. Just kidding. That we've really done this with some forethought and with a committee-based approach.
You heard it here first. Taylor Swift is part of the planning of this whole thing.
She's our numerologist.
She's
her music
She's not our astrologist. We're going to announce that later, but she is our numerologist.
For sure.
Yeah.
The other thing, just to your point, Natalia, with the health and wellness track, we are looking at, as part of the Author Nation, overarching spirit of living your best life, and we do want to have talks that speak to get up from your desk. Here are some tools. We are looking at ways that we can have chair yoga in the morning, or everybody do a stretch between sessions. Like, we want to be sure that we're looking at the sustainability of an author's career over their entire lifetime, and not just, how to get more words, how to jam more words, how to get more productive.
Yeah. I'm just kind of looking through questions, and I think I can pick off a few of these around the kind of shifting a little bit. Kevin, is around information and helping people know where to get information. If they haven't got on our mailing list, that's the best thing to do. You'll get a series of emails that kind of talk through some of the things we've done.
Real quick, tell them where to do that.
So the best place to do that is go to authornation.live. So this is the sales page for the tickets, but if you look at the bottom, there's a place where you can just sign up for the email list. It'll get you on the list and you're ready to go. That's the quickest, fastest way. So just go to www.authornation.live, and you'll see the thing where you put in your name and your email, and you'll start getting your emails. There will be more and more information coming out. We're sitting on a lot of stuff right now that we're preparing. So don't think like lack of communication is that you're not getting stuff. We will be, right. One of the things we are evaluating is the methodology we're going to use for getting information out, and not being dependent on platforms that are going to throttle our information to our community. So, we've got people that love Facebook, and why I only have stuff on Facebook. It's because Facebook determines how much information we can and cannot give people. So we're going to be building out places for you to go and get information. That's where we'll have our frequently asked questions. You can already see some of the frequently asked questions building on our sales page as we see them. But the idea of having one place where it should be your source of knowledge, like before you go and ask the question, go in there because it's most likely going to be there. So that will we're evaluating a couple ways to do this. And they all have trade-offs, and that's the hard part. So rather than just get into a situation where we have 6 different places with 6 different pieces of information, we're trying to get this to where we can have the least amount and it work for the most people. Will it work for everyone? No. If you're looking to help, feel free. Like, I'm accessible. Just email. Once you get an email from Author Nation, just reply. It goes to my mailbox. I'll reply to you. Like, there's no issue with that. I may hand you off to somebody who's responsible for that group. It may be Natalia, maybe Shell, it may be Suze, maybe Mandy. But if you're looking to participate, just, email and we'll figure it out. We're a community.
Yep. And everybody plays a part.
On the community note, I know like a big part of the show in like previous years was like people wanted to come for networking purposes. So how are we going to be including like organic kind of networking? There were like questions about social meetups that are more informal, authors who are more introverted. What are we doing to help them?
Yeah. So I think a lot of that's going to get addressed through what we talked about earlier with these regional meetup groups and how we start to bring people in that way and help them to figure out what they want to do as a kind of sub community. And then we'll build into that process ways to, people to focus like a genre type meetups. One of the things that we're also figuring in is we're going to be going later into the evening with entertainment kind of event stuff. So like Sound Booth Theater is planning on putting together like a welcoming party where they do skits and, they do theatrical cinematic audio. So like they want to show off their skill set. So they're like, hey, how can we do this? Kevin knows Kelly Little, who does a thing called
yeah, go ahead.
He does a thing called Story Wars, where it's kind of like this improv deal where they give you so much time. They pull a prompt out of a hat, give everybody so much time to write, and then they read the stories and do stuff around that. We're working with him on an after hours event where they're going to run a Story Wars in Las Vegas. So fun stuff like that. Now, is that for everybody? No, but like the authors that I know that have gone to that think it's an amazing creative event. And, when I talked to Kelly about it, he was just like, oh man, I would love to come and do that. And we're like, well, okay, you do that and we'll have prizes and stuff for the people that participate. So
we'll still have the meetups, the informal meetups. So the non-fiction authors will still have, an opportunity to sign up on the spreadsheet for their space to meet up. The, regional groups. There's always stuff that's going on. There's going to be some write-ins, I think, this year as well. There's folks that play D&D. Like all of those will still have space and time for sure.
Yeah. And we'll be much better organized with that. It won't just be like, hey, go find us out on Facebook. Because we have to manage all that space. Right.
Yeah.
I was just going to say that after hours entertainment events are also just such a great low pressure way to be around other people because you're not forced to chat with each other if that's not where you're at, if your energy level, your social anxiety is not allowing you to go into a room and just introduce yourself. You can go for an event-based meetup and it's a great way to sort of ease yourself into being in public spaces like that, getting to know other authors, even just like whispering to your neighbor about something fun or funny that's happening. It's a really good community builder. And I just wanted to say also, if anyone is worried or nervous about not knowing anybody there, you already do. So like,
yes. Yeah. Look for all these faces. Everybody who's on this call.
Absolutely. Yeah. Come say hi. For sure. For sure. I always love that.
I want you guys to bring in some sensory deprivation pods so that at right around 4:00, I can slip into one for like half an hour and come out rejuvenated and ready to talk to more people. That's what I'm looking for.
Kevin, that sounds like premeditated to me, and I don't think we'll be doing that. Sorry.
Very good.
Sounds terrible.
All right. What other pressing questions do we have in the comments right now?
A quick logistical question about booking hotel rooms, how that's also going to work with bringing in more readers. And then maybe we want to address like what's going on with like a Facebook group or like how people can stay, the best way for them to connect with each other in terms of these meetups and planning out things for the conference.
Sure. So again, if you go to authornation.live, at the top of the page, there's a button to plan your trip. That'll take you to a page that describes a whole bunch of stuff related to the hotel block and navigating Las Vegas, and there'll be more and more information showing up there. We also, I think it's the middle of March, Shell and Kevin interviewed Kelly Butler, who talked through a whole thing about travel hacking and ways to get to the event at a low cost, or basically leveraging your business expenses to travel in a better way. So we're going to have information coming out that way too. It's not just that one page. We're doing some stuff to help people think about how to do this differently. Your other question was around best places for information. Again, the best place for information is sign up for email. If I have your email address, I can have it on different lists so you can get the right information. And that's the first and best place where it's going to be information. As a show, we are facing the same things you are as an author. It's like, if you want to talk to your community, you have to make it as one-to-one as possible. Every time we put an intermediary in there, we're letting somebody else make decisions on how and when we can communicate. And again, we will open up more spaces for there to be information to reside, like our programming and facts, things like that. Shell and I are in the midst of trying to decide like which are the tools we're going to be using for this. There's too many. And they all have trade-offs. That's the thing that sucks. Like, nothing does everything right. So.
All right. We're kind of getting close to the end. We probably have time for at least one more question if we're really diligent about our answers.
How could people who want to get involved in either like the conference in Vegas or one of these like outside meetups, how can they get involved? Where should they reach out to?
I'm sorry, I dropped out there for a second. What was that?
So how can people who want to either like help out with the show, with volunteering, or be involved in these outside meetups in other cities, get involved?
The best thing to do, it'd be to email, Jay Solari at authorventuresllc.com, or if you have one of our emails that you've been sent, just hit reply. It'll go to Isabella or I, and we'll figure out who to connect you with. I think that that also, we want to let people know that we're approachable and we're available. Like, don't think that this is like arm's length stuff. Is like, and come to, if you have a cool idea, like 90% of the stuff we're doing is all community generated ideas. Like, it would be great if we did this. And we're like, yes, it would. Let's do that. Right. Like, that's the difference. Now we may have to say, ooh, we can't do it quite that way because we don't have the money. The other thing that we may have to do it is because we don't have the resources, but this addresses that. If we can have people volunteer and do those resources, then we can maybe pull this stuff up further. I saw a couple of things about folks, if they're bringing their significant other and ticketing and what they're going to go to. Understand that the costs associated with this event and our ticket price. Our ticket price is very low. When we roll out that coffee for the morning session, the coffee and the donuts, that's $65,000 worth of expense. So why do I tell you that? If you're having somebody come, like it's a significant other, they're not necessarily being an author. We don't have a special ticket for them like other events do, because it's just another thing for us to organize. If they want to come to this stuff, they have to buy a ticket. Those tickets are, between the tickets and our sponsorship, we're just covering our costs. So that's why we're doing it that way. There is going to be different price points for different things now, and that's not to exclude people. It's so you can make a choice. So if you don't want to do the author, reader fantasy party, it's okay. That's not for you. I get it.
Yeah.
When we look at these different things. So for example, I think I saw a question about people about like, hey, having to pay for a table at Rave. If you're first off, you have to apply, and then we're going to pick people to get tables. Based on the table price for Rave, that's going to include lunch. So lunch, our cost for lunch is $65. I'm starting to sound like Craig telling everybody's costs. Now I know why he does it. Is because understand that these things cost money, and that this isn't just going into some giant coffer. To have a table set up, just imagine what it costs to have a table brought into that event and set up with 2 chairs. It's not free. Somebody's doing that, right? So those costs have to be covered. So we're not doing this to just keep taking money from you. We're doing these things so that we can have a really awesome event, and we can deliver stuff that's of value. And I think when you're looking at this whole thing, you really should be cognizant of what money you have. And if you don't have a lot of money, and you should be investing in your publishing business first. And maybe that means the right thing for you to do is just do the digital ticket. Right. But what I can say is that, and it costs a lot of money to go to Vegas, I know. The value will be there. I am 100% confident. It used to be there with 20 books, but we're doing is going to take it to a whole nother level. So I'm not worried that if you go there and you spend that kind of money, that you won't feel that you got your money's worth.
All right. Well, we're past the hour now, so we're going to go ahead and wrap up. These are some great questions. I know people still have more questions, and I'm sure that they could send them your way, right, Joe?
Absolutely. Just like when just send me email us, and we'll answer those questions.
Now, make sure go ahead.
Sorry, there's a contact form on the programming site. So if you have general questions, you can go to programming.authornation.live and hit the contact us. If you have questions about programming, you can go there. If you have questions about anything, you can do that, and I'll pass them on too. So we'll try and do that. Also, since this session is recorded, we'll go back through and answer a lot of these questions. There's some that I'm going in and answering. So we'll keep this as a conversation thread, not just an end of a session too. We'll be sure if there's any that we didn't particularly answer, we'll come back to them and we'll get answers.
Excellent. All right. And that leads us into, if you haven't already, you're going to want to go get your ticket to the Author Nation Conference. Starting November 11th, running through the 15th of 2024, go to authornation.live. And if you've been enjoying the podcast and you want to hear more topics discussed there, or you have a guest to suggest or something like that, go to authornation.live/deep dive, and you can submit your suggestions for what we can talk about on the show. So that said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in. Thank everybody for being a part of this on our broadcast side. And that's going to do it for our apparently last Ask Us Anything. See you at Author Nation.